we had to book this guy months in advance. We got him in. Really, man, Chris has been one of the best examples of this deal, man, that I get to, I don't know, look up to in this thing. So, look at what he did. Well, we're on step 12, and our speaker tonight is Chris.
Thank you, Jeremy, I believe. I'm a recovered addict. My name's Chris. And my sobriety date is March 17, 2009. And I have a home group, and I sponsor guys, and I have a sponsor. And that's really kind of what we're driving at tonight here, I think. So, I don't want to just jump right into this, because like if you're new here, if you didn't put your hand up, if you're what are we talking about here? What are we talking? Spiritual experience? Like, it seems kind of heavy, you know? Like, it seems like, what are we even doing here, right? So, it would be fitting to kind of understand who the person is sitting in front of you a bit. You know, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but why did I need a spiritual experience? Why did my life depend on coming here and doing this kind of thing, right? So, I grew up around here. I'm an only child. I'm a think about myself guy. My family loved me to death. They were thinking about me. Everybody was just focused on trying to let me succeed and help me out and all that. But I always felt off. I always felt different. I couldn't even have told you that at the time. Like, growing up, I couldn't even have put words to that I felt weird. I got loaded for the first time. I drank a couple times, but I didn't get enough back in me for anything to happen. For the effect produced, actually. Fitting name. Who named this group? But actually the first time, and I go to other fellowships, and it's hard to discuss this portion, but the first time I really got like loaded for the first time was smoking a bunch of weed with a bunch of guys that I did not feel comfortable with. I was driving out where like Starkey Ranch is, and all these houses, there's a million neighborhoods now. It was woods back then, and we drove in this in the back of Aristida, where the cul-de-sac ends, all the way into the woods in this old Bronco, and we started smoking weed and greenhousing this old Bronco. And like, I remember just 10-15 minutes into that, after catching my breath and whatnot, because I was kind of choking. It's like, this is all foreign to me. This is all new stuff. I don't smoke at the time. I don't do anything, and I'm like trapped in this freaking Bronco with these guys that I don't feel comfortable with. And all of a sudden, like, life just came alive. I remember giggling. I remember like looking in the mirror at myself, like, the little bit of the rear view mirror I could see from the back seat, and I just seen my eyes were like just baked, bloodshot. And I was like, man, this is excellent. Like, I just remember, like, this is like, I felt great. Like, I felt absolutely, and like, so I started smoking pot every single day, before school, after school. I would skip, like, I immediately didn't care about anything with school, anything like that. And then like that same week or weekend or whatever, I started drinking. I started, if you had some pills, and I would have never done that prior to this. If you got pills now, here, where are we going? What do they do, after I take them or whatever, and just kind of just trying to see what everything was. Like, it was, I don't know, it sounds corny, gateway drug maybe, but it absolutely was for me. Like, it put this, I don't know, I grew up, I'm born in 82, I grew up watching the frying pan with the egg, and like, this is drugs, and like, you're gonna be homeless, and I ended up being a homeless junkie on my way to prison. But at the time, I didn't know that at the time, and it just seemed like I was gonna die if I did anything. And man, I got loaded, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it also put this like thing in my head, like, oh, that's another thing the man's lying to me about, like, I'm not dead right now, and kind of a weird thing to think, but that's what it was, man. And I started getting loaded every single day. Not really drinking at the time. Just, I would drink sporadically, right? So that's why I would wind up in these other fellowships, this Alcoholics Anonymous, right? I got sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, but it took me a long time to get sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, because I could clearly see that I was doing these drugs all the time, but I could not see that when I would drink, I would wind up back on all this other stuff. So, but anyway, I'm doing drugs every day, and a buddy of mine went through a windshield. Two of my friends were driving a 91 IROC down Trouble Creek right when they opened up where it's like curvy on the way to the fourth dimension. Like that was woods when I was a kid, and they opened that road up and everybody used to fly through there, and a car pulled out in front of them and this kid went through the windshield, and like Chris Magoo, this knucklehead, you know, his name says it all, right? But this kid, he stuck in the windshield, like it blew his eye out, like he had like eyelashes stuck in the windshield. They bayflighted him out. And like, I don't know if there's any invisible line or anything like that, but definitely when that dude got his settlement, we crossed whatever invisible line there was to cross. We crossed like that summer. I remember he had no vehicle. I drove him to this lawyer right up here on 19, and he signed the check, and they put some money in his account right away. And I mean, by this time, like I wasn't like bad strung out on pills and stuff, but I was doing stuff every day. We were smoking pot every day. I'm drinking on the weekends. Little non-addictive Vicodin here and there, Loratabs, you know, nothing too heavy at the time. And I remember he got this settlement, and it was just like a switch because now we got like, he got some money in the deal. He has none of it now. You know, I talk to him every now and again on Facebook or something, but like he got probably, I don't know, $100,000 or something. That's a lot of money for like an 11th grader to get dropped on his lap, right? With this budding drug addiction, alcoholism, and you know, so we're just driving around buying dirt bikes and going out on the boat and getting loaded. It was like, it just was great. It was like, I'm not here because this thing didn't work for years. Like this thing worked. It did exactly what it was supposed to do for years. I had a wonderful time getting loaded, partying, going to the sandbar, going all these, like, I just loved it. I loved everything about that, right? And I remember, like, one of the first few times, so by this time, like, everything's progressing, and I don't realize it. Like I said, like, I wasn't trying to be cute with that crossing the line thing, but I was really just so loaded for, like, the next, I don't know, 9 or 10 months, however long that money lasted. Because it's not like I was like robbing him, but we were just all hanging out and he was getting us all loaded. And when I was separated from that though, see, I got this mind on me where I'm like, I could stop this anytime, you know, I'm just not gonna, because it's Tuesday and I got nothing to do and he's got money, you know, and it's like this weird thing that I can just justify whatever it is I'm doing and make it okay to fit my situation. And I remember the first time I kind of got separated from that for a few days and I was like, damn, man, I got like the worst flu in the world, you know. I remember calling Nick, my mother, his neighbor, you know, and I was like, I don't know, we eat bad food or something, man? Like, I feel terrible, man. Like, who the hell was sick that was around us, you know? And he's like, bro, he's like, we've been doing oxys, man. He's like, you're dope sick. And I'm like, part of me was like, oh, hell yeah, that's dope sick. That's pretty cool, you know? Like, and then I instantly realized, like, this is terrible, you know? This is horrible. So then it just really kind of seemed, man, any bit of money, I never wanted to feel like that again, right? And now I think you could get anybody physically addicted to this kind of stuff that I was taking. 100. You could just sit, and if you like filled a gerbil with, you know, whatever I was doing every day, they'd be physically addicted, and they might not need this program, this process, these 12 steps, this spiritual experience we're talking about. They might not need that once that dries out of them. But man, it would dry. I would get sober, clean. I would get whatever out of me that I was on, and I would get feeling. I'm a puker. I don't know if anybody else likes that, but I detox like I'm going to, you know, God, I don't know. I don't know. I am just the worst patient in the world. I'm the biggest baby. I'm throwing up. I'm like, I drink a sparrow's beak full of Gatorade and I throw up for another 2 days. I'm a mess, right? I'm laying around sweating and coming unglued, usually at my parents' house because I got nowhere to go, right? I'm by the end of this deal. And the moment that I feel better physically, the moment, it's like all of a sudden this mind just kind of just turns on me. And like, I just swore off everything, 4 or 5 days ago, go through this hellacious deal. And it's like, I can't even remember that, and it just kind of turns on me, and all of a sudden, getting loaded seems like the best idea in the world. Now, I'm not physically, I'm not talking about the allergy. I'm not talking about being in physical withdrawals. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about straight up, as sober as I'm sitting here right now, I have this mind on me that for some reason goes right back to this every single time. And it does funny things where it's like, wow, Monday through Friday, I won't do anything, but Friday night through, and I play these games with myself for years, right? And until the end, I'm not working, Chris Magoo's long gone. I think he was in prison in Baltimore or something. And we got nothing. Like, I'm a mess. I'm walking around on 19. I got a backpack I'm living out of. My family doesn't want me around. I have no friends. I have this girl that I met in detox, which is a terrible idea. But it wasn't that. Actually, it was a great idea, because when we were in detox, she said, I go to the doctor and my scripts are going to be, I can fill them in 2 days. Now, I went into hard. It was hard. It's different now. This is like 06 I'm talking about, 05, 06. You would wait 2 days to hope to get a bed at Baycare at Harbor Detox. And this I get in there. I get this coveted bed that I wanted so badly. And I'm in there an hour. And this girl's like, I'm going to get my tax return. And we can go to if you can get me a ride to Tampa, we can fill all my scripts. That's all I had to hear. And I'm like, all right, I'll be signing. Who do I speak to about signing out of here, And they're like, if you sign out, you can't come back within however many days. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just let me, where's the paperwork? And it's funny now, man, but that's like mind-blowing that could even, like, I don't even know how that happened. I do know it's this strange mental blank spot and this peculiar mental twist. I have this mind that just can't see past that. All I want is relief. I just want relief in that moment. I don't care about, if I got probation hanging over my head, or I'm going back to jail if this, I don't even care, man. I just want to feel better at that minute. And so I signed myself out. And I got this girl I'm walking around with, living out of a backpack, living over, Sun Toyota was still on the corner of 54 and 19, and this dude who, he was really working a 12th step on me, actually, right? In a different sense, right? You know how when you find a way to do something that's just like, you got to show your buddies? He showed me how to hit a crack pipe the right way. He showed me how to hit a vein. These are important things if you're going to be living this lifestyle that I'm living, right? And this dude was a real trailblazer. He was a real Bill Wilson in a sense, But his house, both of his parents died, like short, not together, but like within a month of each other. And like probate hadn't taken the house. And all these people, these like street walking type people that I'm hanging out with, this crazy ass lady and the girl I met in detox, and this, like, I don't even know, he was a veteran or something, maybe Vietnam veteran. They're just whacked out people. We're all living in this house. It was like a cartoon or something, it was mad, it was wild, right? And never in high school or in the Bronco smoking the weed, like, you couldn't have told me, hey, check this out. I know you're not going to believe me now, but in however many years, 15 years, you're going to be on your way to prison, homeless in this house with like no power, no running water, hanging out with people that are like 2 and 3 times your age, and they're showing you how to, clean needles out, which doesn't work, by the way. I wound up with hepatitis, but we're going to be doing all this stuff, right? And like, you couldn't have told me that my life was going to end up there. And that's exactly where it did. And there's a line in here that says, our addicted life, our alcoholic life is the only normal one. This was totally normal. All of a sudden, yeah, we steal power. We get, there was a lot of foreclosed homes around that time. This is after the big crash. You could get the Duke Energy. They could put it on like a paper clip. You cut that thing off. You take the meter right out. You stick it in your meter, We did that like 4 times. Duke removed the power line to the house because they didn't want us to keep doing that. And like, we're just living like this, man. We got a hose coming from the neighbor's house, and there's cars all in the yard. None of them drive. None of them. It's just madness, man. And I had this back porch back there, in this back of this crappy, just crazy place. and it was like I was fine there. I really was. It was like I was content in that place, in that moment. But I burn every bridge I cross. So I pissed these guys off because I'm not really altruistic at the time. I didn't know that at the time, but I'm not much of a giver. I'm more of a taker. And man, I wore out my welcome, and these guys kicked me out of there. And they told me to come back a few days later because they had a piece of mail for me. And I'm getting somewhere with this. And I end up going back to this house to get this mail. And it was my food stamp card, which is like, I called Pinky. That was my guy, right? Pinky. And I'm starting to walk to mile stretch. We're heading to mile stretch, baby. We're walking, and I'm walking. I got a brisk walk going. You know, usually I'm just moping around, and I'm walking, and we're gonna sell these food stamps, and we're gonna at least have a decent night tonight, right? That's where my mind is, and you know, God, this God that we come in contact here, apparently had been pursuing me and just wanting to, you know, and the Pasco County Sheriff's was too, but this God that I didn't believe in, that I wasn't even interested in coming to believe. See, I had been to these rooms. I had been to these 12. I've been to AA. I had been to NA. I've been to all these A's. I've been to counselors. The only time I felt better at any of those was like when the doctor would lean over toward his script pad as I'm talking and start, and asking me to, I knew the right way to answer the right questions and that kind of thing. That's the only relief I ever got, was getting a piece of paper and leaving there, but see, I got this deal where I know about AA because I've been, and DAA, I don't even think was a thing. Maybe it was, but I know what's in this book, certainly. This blue one that we can share, one book for 2 to 3 people. And I don't know, I'm a little smarter than this. Seems a little outdated. These treatment centers are kind of corny. And really what was driving that whole ship was this mind right here that just cannot see my life without getting loaded for the rest of my life. I just can't see that. I can't see forever. I cannot see that I'm never going to be able to drink, or I'm never going to be able to smoke a little pot. Like, there wasn't even half these pot clinics and that wasn't even a thing, right? But what I'm talking about. Just couldn't see, like, forever. And I would come to these places with that zeal, right? That amount of willingness, because I wasn't like you guys, and I'm not interested in a permanent solution. I'm not looking to try to sober up here. And this time, I don't know if it was bad enough on the streets or whatever at that time or what have you, but I end up at that house. I go back there, I get the food stamps that put me in a place where I end up getting hit by a car. Not really even. I threw my hands up, and I tried pulling a guy out of a car in the middle of daytime travel, like rush hour, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday at Mugen 19, right by the car wash. And it saved my life, really. It is what happened is God entered in a way, and I'm not trying to be cute and funny here, but really what happened, man, the sheriff's office came, and the madness stopped for a time. I wound up sitting in the county jail. I wound up, they bring meetings into the county jail, and I would go to those, and I was just trying. And there's a guy in my home group now that talks about getting off the beam 1 degree at a time, and how far it can put you off the beam if one day I start here, and then the next day I'm a little off, and then the next day. Well, there was this other deal that was happening was, I didn't come in here with this willingness and this like zeal to do this and like, I can't wait to go sponsor guys and do this 12-step. I came in here like I did not want the life I had any longer. And I came in here with like this much willingness to just try a different way. Not even the whole time throughout the day, like just a little bit. Like, and I was, instead of, playing spades and being like, what doctor do you guys go to? And all this crap you talk about in the county jail. I was like reading this book and hitting the meeting that would come in once every 2 or 3 weeks if it would come in. And my life changed, right? And it was a lot more than that, but that was the beginning of the change. That was the beginning of this awakening that, might get to this evening here. But all the while that was happening, there was this guy, and this is the first like real 12-step call that was worked on me. There was this guy that I was homeless and I wanted to go to my parents' house, and the only way I could go there is if I would work and if I would go to AA. And they brought me to the A club and dropped me off, and it was my job to get home. And some dude came up to me and he started talking to me. Now, he didn't come with, here's the 4th step. These are the columns. I'm going to break, and he was a very mechanical dude. He was a big book guy, but it wasn't like that. He just welcomed me. He was like, hey, man, I haven't seen you here. What's your name? Nobody had ever done that. It seemed like I would come to these meetings and it seemed like it was all you guys, and then I would be off to the side, and it felt weird and it felt uncomfortable, and it's not welcoming, and I'm not coming back here, and I'm not even like them people, and I got this mind that kind of talks me away from this deal. And this guy came up to me, and in the ride from Main Street to 54 in Madison, where my parents live, my life changed. The guy, and I was in the middle of a run. I did not get sober then. There was that one last incident on 19 and the cops and all that stuff there where I finally did get sober, but I knew I wanted this guy to sponsor me. I knew this guy was talking about just a freedom, all what your readings talk about in here. He was talking about something that it was foreign to me. I had never heard that. It turns out it was in this big book the entire time. I had no idea about that. And so that's kind of going on. I get arrested, I'm locked up, and now my parents are sleeping at night, right? And they're not worried if I'm overdosing. They're not worried if I'm getting killed by somebody that I'm screwing out of money. Everybody I know I rob from, and just I'm a maniac when I'm out there, and just a whack job. And they know that their kid is safe and not, whatever. It's a weird deal when you're happy that your son is incarcerated, but that's what was going on. And but I'm calling home and I'm asking my dad, because my dad's doing AA, and I'm asking, what did Wes say at the meeting? Because he was going to the same meeting that this dude that was going to be my sponsor. What did he say? What did they talk about today? And see, I'm talking about the 12-step, but I'm not doing it in a mechanical way here, right? The book lays it out perfectly, and if that's what you're looking for, I'm sorry. However, I'm telling you exactly my experience with it, because these people, this unselfish acts through these people, using these people, these broken people, that like a conduit, they would carry a message to me in a way that's all that this thing is here, right? That's what I've come to believe and come to find out now. We do a lot with the steps, and we do, everything is in the book, and we work the steps, and it's in the book, and we can show you line by line where it's in there. But there's a lot of stuff that these people showed me that didn't have much to do with this book. It had a lot to do with shaking hands at the door. It had a lot to do with setting chairs up, putting chairs away. Like, there's a lot of stuff in between them steps that I hope to make it to here, and I'm getting there, I promise you. So, but I would call home and I'd ask, what was said at the meeting, and what did they read? And my dad was trying, we don't really work with family. It's a weird deal, but my dad was trying to help me with this deal in that place, and I knew when I got out, I got Wes as a sponsor, and in prison, a guy on his 9th step amends, he owed Florida time, and he turned himself in. And I am sitting here as a result of a guy turning himself in on an amend that just seems like one that you would never deal with. I'm not going to deal with that, right? And he came down from upstate New York, and he turned himself in Florida, and it changed my life, because that's the first guy that really took me through the steps in prison. And he took me through the steps very quickly. He was doing a 12-step. I didn't make it there at that time because I had some amends to make and that kind of thing. But I had shared things with this guy. I had done some work that I could have done with this guy in that place. And I got out, and I could not wait to get with you guys. I could not wait to, join a group and get involved. And I got plugged back in with that guy, Wes. That's the kind of impact we make on people here. So powerful that a year later I wanted to find this guy to hopefully he's still sober and hopefully he'll help me. Right? That's the kind of deal that we have here. This is life-changing stuff. And that guy had that. He had, the book talks about like a deportment and a whole zeal about him that shouted at the new prospect that he was a man with a real answer, and he was. So I jump back in with this guy. I join a group, And there was this whole deal going on. Meanwhile, see, I think I'm just setting chairs up at this stupid meeting that you guys can't set your own damn chair. You're like, where did you do when I was in prison? Who set your chairs up? This is like what's going in my mind as I'm setting your chairs up. But see, what's really happening is I'm like connecting. Like I got people that I mopped up little crappy AA hallways with and DAA hallway and set chairs up. And they're some of my best friends today, still to this day. Right? Because something happens in these little actions here. When we take these actions, not just the steps actions, of course the steps, but there's other actions when we do these things, man, like that's where the deal is in my experience. So, but that guy Wes, man, he took me right back through the steps relatively quick. And I remember we would meet on Wednesdays, every Wednesday. And he'd come to my parents' house because I was living at my parents' house. And he would have worked all day. He wouldn't even go home and shower. The guy would eat like, I don't know, Circle K hot dogs always and like just shit food. And he was eating like a Slim Jim, and he would come to my house all dirty with like tile dust and sawdust on him. And he would read this book to me. And I knew how to read. I'm not an idiot, right? I've read your book. But he would read this book to me, and he would explain different things to me. And he would do this other thing, too, where he would be like, you know what altruistic means? Because that's like in the beginning part of the book a couple times. And I'm like, yeah, I know what altruistic means. And he'd be like, what does it mean? And he'd look at me. And it would feel like 20 minutes would go by sitting in silence on my parents' back porch. And I'd say, I don't know what altruistic means. He would say it means selfless. It means the opposite of selfishness. Write it down, right? And it was exactly what I needed, man. This guy just to call me out because I was so full of crap and I did not even know it. And he, on one of these Wednesdays, he called me on we did our book deal that we were doing. We were going through the book every Wednesday. And then it wasn't the night of my home group. It had to be some other night that wasn't Friday. It was like a Thursday, so I don't know. It doesn't matter. But it wasn't Wednesday, and it wasn't the night of my home group. And he called me, and he was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing. What are you doing? It was weird. We don't talk on this day usually. What's up, What's going on? And he's like, I'm going to come pick you up. I'm like, all right. And he picked me up, and he took me to this. I had just eaten. I'm living at my mom's house. I'm eating good, baby. I'm out of prison. We're hanging out. Family's happy. I'm sober. We're eating. We're doing things. And he brings me to this dingy Chinese place, all you can eat. And I'm just watching him eat. And I'm like, what's up, man? What are we doing here? And he's like, you don't get it. And I didn't get it. I really didn't. And I don't even know where I was at in the steps. I was probably at a place where he was telling me to raise my hand when it was time to find sponsees. And he said, some days this is just about me getting out of myself and hanging out with someone else and talking to you. He's like, this ain't always about me telling you about this book. This isn't about you getting the book. And I was like, I probably looked at him confused. I don't know. Like I was very confused because I really thought when we were meeting up on Wednesdays that this was for me. This is going to help me, right? Wes is taking me through the steps, right? And really what he was doing was he was saving his own ass. And that's the secret of the 12th step, right? And I did not even know that. It eluded me until I then sponsored somebody. But so right around that time, he's got me raising my hand to sponsor people. Now, I'm somebody that's come and gone in these meetings for a couple years. I wasn't like a big, fixture here, but I would come for 30 days, enough to meet people and have them remember my name. I'll never remember your name, but they'd know my name, and I would be there for 30 days, and then I'd be gone for a year, or I'd be gone for 9 months, and I would come back, and it would be the same people. And now I'm out of prison, and I'm like, I had done a fifth step, I had made some amends, and now Wes is telling me I got to raise my hand when they ask for sponsors, and I'm like, get the hell out of here, Part of me was like, yeah, damn right, I'll raise my hand, but part of me was I was super 100% just did not feel qualified. Like, why would they ask me? They could ask, Joe Hudson, what the hell are they going to ask me for? I just had this mind, like, why would they? And I remember going to this clubhouse at 5:30, and they ask there, And the room used to be full. I don't know what it looks like now at 5:30. It was full. It was always full. Not a chair in there. And they'd ask for sponsors, and no one would raise their hand. The entire room, not one person would raise their hand, which is insane if you think about it. It's totally crazy. And I raise my hand, and I hear this table of old-timers at the front circle table that are always there. And I don't know if it was in my head. I'm pretty sure it happened, but it felt like they were kind of like snickering, like, what the hell is this? Didn't he just get out of prison? What's he even got? Does he even have a year or what? It like just felt like a weird. I felt weird doing it. But what Wes explained to me and what has been shown to me, and really what I had felt inside me, was there was some kind of change happening in me, where for the first time in my life I didn't care what these old timers thought of me. I only cared about trying to be useful to someone else and trying to help someone else, and that was a new concept for me. Because it's all about what you think about me. It's most important, or what I can get from you. It wasn't about forget that and putting someone else first. It wasn't even on the table. And I remember, it's amazing if you have this experience, and it's not hard to get. We could literally take you through this process in a couple sessions in this parking lot. But to have this experience and then to be willing to help people, how many people just start coming? How many people God just starts putting in your lap? And I remember the first guy I sponsored was a friend I was riding around with. It was his brother who had just jumped off a bridge in Boston that's like 2 feet shorter than the Skyway. Like it's their bridge, it's their Skyway, it's their bridge. And he didn't die. And he definitely should have. Like, he was messed up. His whole one side, he was in a coma for many months. And his first order of business when he got out of this coma was to come down here and, try to go through this process, right? And so I'm working with this guy, and I'm working with this other dude who didn't get sober either at the time. But I remember I don't know if anybody can relate with this, but so me and my buddy Sean are driving to pick up the other guy that I'm sponsoring, and we're, talking crap to each other and talking about the girls at the clubhouse, talking about all this stuff. And then my sponsee got in the car, Now it's time, now I got a little serious, you gotta, hey, shut up, man. This got a new guy here, and it's a weird thing that happens, but when this thing changed you and you're in love with it, and it's just like when you want to show someone else about how to get loaded. Hey, check this. Look here. Oh, you're hitting the carb wrong. You got to hold, like that kind. When you show someone, like I wanted to show someone else this deal. I wanted so bad for someone else to see it. And I don't know, man. It took a while. Like I didn't. People a lot of times will be like, hey, will you take me through the book? Because I want to learn the book and stuff. Like, the truth is, I learned this book by reading it to other people that weren't listening to it. I learned this book by reading it 1,000,000 times in my car, right? In front of a clubhouse or something. And I don't know, man, my experience with it. So there's 3 parts to this thing, right? This awakening, carrying this message, which is interpreted very loosely in one book and very specifically in the other, right? The 12 and 12 talks differently than the big book does. The big book talks about intensive work, one addict with another, right? Is what is vital to permanent recovery, it talks about. And like the truth behind this is, I'm here for permanent recovery. I'm not here to, like, I got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I'd like to be sober and alert and awake and there at their wedding, at their high school graduation, at their whatever. Like, I'm here because I don't ever want to get loaded again. I'm here because I want to die sober, right? Not tonight necessarily or anything like that, but that's the end game here, right? So how do I achieve this permanent recovery that this book promises, it talks about, right? It's one day at a time, but it's permanent. And it's by this kind of stuff. It's strenuous work, one with another. So, I don't know. There's a line in here that talks about that it'll be a joy to watch others recover, but then to watch them help others. And that has been one of my a definite. There's truths in this book all through it, that promises that have rang true in my life. But certainly one of the best joys is working with somebody who you may or may not think they're going to get it. Doesn't even matter. They end up getting this thing, and then watching them help other people. And then all the calls you were getting about their problems shift. And it's a weird deal. Then they call and they're like, Jimmy's not doing this right, and then they're talking about their guy. And that's a cool thing for somebody that's so selfish and self-centered that only thinks about themselves to then call you about someone else's problem. And why is, I wish he would just get this like I did, like we did, right? Like there is such a thing. I probably struggle the most with practicing this in all my affairs. These principles, there's principles behind all the steps. Depending on which clubhouse you go to, there are different, corresponding for a different step. So I won't bore you with the, this deal here, it's easy to look good and to sound good for an hour in front of you guys, The hardest part for me is to walk this out at home, to walk this out at work, to be this life that has been afforded me. I have a business that I get to help people, and am I really trying to help people, or am I just trying to get paid and get the hell out of their house and go to the next job? Is it what does that look like? Where am I really at with this? Am I so consumed with helping new guys that I miss stuff that I should be at for my kids? Where's that? And I don't know. It was explained to me. I had a real issue with that at the time when I was sobering up, and that same guy, man, I said, I need some balance. I need some balance in my life, right? And I didn't even have nearly as busy of a life as I have right now. And he said, your life is unmanageable by you, and it's unbalanceable by you. And I was like, oh. And it's like these spiritual truths, when they're spot on, they just get right to you. They don't need an explanation. They don't need, and that was the case, man. I don't know. I just lean in more to helping other people. Now, sometimes some of those people are my family, and I don't know. To me, it's not as joyful to pay for some stupid horse lesson and watch my daughter ride a horse as it is to watch Caleb pick up a 3-year medallion, But for whatever reason, that's my this is where my life is, right? This is I got to do. I got to be this at home, right? I got to, because I've got experience with that both ways, where I wasn't doing this in all areas of my life, and then it's weird, like no one was attracted to what I was offering anymore, and I started to lose some of those same guys that were my sponsees, were then getting different sponsors because they don't want what this guy has anymore, right? So that's a fine line we walk around here. If people are watching, I guess the main thing, we judge with our eyes around here. You gotta listen to you talk, but I'm gonna watch you, right? That's how I pick who I hang out with around here, by what they do, not what they say. And I think people were doing that to me for a while, and the evidence, I had lost some guys, but what it always does, in my experience, is it pushes me further into needing a new experience, right? That's what this is about. This is about waking up. It says, having had a spiritual awakening. So I get to wake up to something new. I get to wake up to some part of my life that I was okay with that's not really okay. And I get to wake up to that and have a new experience with it. So I guess, I don't know, man, to sum this up, that's like highbrow stuff. If you're new, if you're counting days, if you're shy and didn't raise your hand, seems like it's so far off, and I promise you it's not. If you get through some of this work, it will be in no time at all. You will be feeling inadequate and raising your hand at one of these clubhouses, and then you'll get a sponsee and not know what to do with them. And then you'll say, hey, what do I do now? That guy Wes said, stay a step ahead of him, right? And just keep doing this. And that's how none of us would be in this room tonight June 10th, 1935, a miracle happened in this town called Akron, Ohio, right? And that's where the birth of our main sister fellowship, whatever you want to call it, where this book sprang from. and they're going to be celebrating that 90 years later. They're going to be celebrating that in a few days here. That guy didn't have a year. That guy that went to Akron and found the doctor didn't have a year. He had 6 months. The guy that went to him had 60 days, right? So these time limits, and this is about helping people. This is about saving lives. This is about shut up and get in the car is an old slogan, right? And how true it is. Just come do what we do. We don't just come be with us. Come clean up our hallway. Come put chairs away with us. It seems so unrelated to what we're suffering from, but I promise you it's not. And that's what these guys have showed me. And I'll shut up after this. Jeez. Sorry, guys. That guy that saved my life in prison died of, I believe, of an overdose. The guy that saved my life when I got out of prison, Wes, got away from doing this deal. See, the fruits and the cash and prizes, as he would say, he was from Alabama, cash and prizes. He'd say, I'm fat and happy, right? The cash and prizes of this deal would pull him away. And it has that allure, right? AA and DAA and all these A's gave me such a good life that it almost seems I don't even have any more time for this thing. I got such a full life. I got this over here. I got a business. I got to go do this stuff. And it pulled him away from the thing that gave him the life. And he was still showing me stuff for like 7 years. He was still my teacher. He wasn't my sponsor, but he was my teacher. Right? I ended up getting a sponsor the day he went out. But that example that he walked out turned into a 7-year in and out, watching somebody struggle with this thing. And then it turned into a year of him coming back and doing this deal and being plugged in and getting right in the middle of this thing again. And the stuff that worked the first time for him worked again. And it was all the same stuff. It was being involved, shaking hands, talking to people he didn't know, greeting people at the door, all this kind of stuff that seems so foreign to people like us. And I don't know, he must have had something going still, some dishonesty somewhere in his life. And I get a call on a Saturday morning after a Friday night that he missed a meeting, and I already knew it was his wife calling me to tell me something terrible. I just knew that. And so he overdosed, and he was on a ventilator at Bayonet Point, and we all went up there, and there's probably 20 guys in this room that went up there, but about 100 people went through that hospital room to shake his essentially dead hand and say hi to his sister and his father that came down here from Alabama, and to walk through that deal. And there, the term got thrown around a few times, like, hey, this is going to be the last 12-step call this guy makes. And you're not going to scare any of us sober. Never. It's just not happened. I've watched people die that I was hanging out with, and then like, I wonder if what's in their pocket, you're never going to scare us sober. However, like, there was an impact on that, and it was also one of the hardest things that I've ever done sober. Right, we come here and we're not problem free. This is not, oh, you're sober now, you never have to deal with another problem ever again. No, life's going to show up. There's going to be good days, bad days, business failures, great successes. We got to watch that too, right? Terrible things, free golf carts from what I hear out there, but the constant in this deal was that the people. All the same people that were at that man's celebration of life that are alive and sober and seemingly happy are all the same people that are active doing this stuff, right? And I think there's something to that if we stay active, it has, the 12th step is not like the end point and then we're all done. It's nice knowing you. I got through my steps. You hear that a lot, Got through. I'm hereby, I'm voluntary. And I got through my steps, right? Those are the two, right? And that's great and all, and we are trying to get through this stuff, but I don't think, we're really never kind of at this finish point. It's just, all right, now we drag someone else through it. Now we take someone else through this. So, thanks for letting me share.
Thanks.